cyclist needs carbs, right? The two things go hand in hand. Pasta and cycling, carb loading and cycling, energy gels and cycling. See?
Well, maybe not, right? Because there is a growing number of people out there that thinks that a low-carb, high-fat diet is the best way to fuel for endurance sports, like cycling. So the theory goes that this kind of diet will make you more efficient at burning fats, allowing you to do it at higher intensities, and therefore allowing you to conserve your precious glycogen stores for when it really matters.
Well, that's all well and good, but what about a lot of people who don't necessarily want to improve performance, but purely want to lose weight? What then?
Okay, well, let's tackle this weight loss question first, then, shall we? Now, a lot of people think that a low-carb, high-fat diet will allow you to lose weight, and it might, but it's really just a question of not eating too many calories rather than too many carbs, because just as if you eat too many carbs, if you eat too much fat, you will still get fat, because let's face it, your body is relatively simple, and if your energy in exceeds energy out, then your body will store that excess, and your body stores excess energy primarily as fat.
Fat maths.
That is fat maths.
When your body is burning fat for fuel, it isn't an easy ticket to weight loss either. As appealing as the image is of your stomach gradually reducing in size as you ride along, sadly, it just isn't true. Now, when you're exercising on a low carb diet, your body doesn't just burn the carbs, actually can burn protein as well as fat. And exercising in the so-called fat burning zone means, because you're riding at a far lower intensity, you're actually going to use far less calories.
Yeah, not to mention that your metabolism doesn't get the same kick that it would when you're working at higher intensities. So if weight loss is your goal, then you would be better off riding for shorter periods and much harder, so like intervals, for example, and then not worrying about burning specifically fat.
Well, there you go. There's the cold, hard facts about a low-carb, high-fat diet for weight loss. So, what about high-fat then?
Well, you can train your body to become much more efficient at burning fat during exercise. Massively so, in fact. A recent study into ultra runners, no, bear with me, this is relevant, by Volek, Noakes and Finney showed that a group of fat-optimized runners were able to run at much higher intensities, burning fat, compared to a group of normal, well-trained runners. Meaning that they were able to run at much higher intensities, but for far, far longer.
Yeah, to get into that state, they simply followed a low-carb, high-fat diet. But for most cyclists, it's not really going to pay any dividends, and it will depend to a large degree on the sort of riding that you do. So if you ride steady, but you're a massive monster mile eater, then it definitely could be of benefit.
However, the next time you come to that steep climb and he's powering over, or the breakaway that needs bridging to, then you're going to need to switch to carbohydrates as your source of fuel. And that's because no matter how efficient you are at burning fat, looks like you're ready for something there, Matt. No matter how efficient you are at burning fat, your body will always have to turn to carbs for those super high-end efforts. And not just carbs, but simple carbs at that. Meaning that for most cyclists, the key to higher performance is carbohydrate. Ready, go! Go!
Which is odd then, because many pro riders these days are looking to improve their fat oxidation, and Team Sky in particular real exponents of this, with many of their riders allegedly going on long training rides fueled on nothing but a solitary espresso, and if they're lucky, an omelette. Now, that's a pretty extreme way to get lean, and they're most likely to be oxidizing protein more than burning fat, as we talked about earlier on.
Clearly though, there must be some merit to this, even if you're trying to win the Tour de France. And that's something which one imagines would require some serious top-end ability.
Yeah, I'm not sure it takes that much imagination really, so I mean the answer to the high carb, low carb question remains unclear. But perhaps that's the point, because the answer lays somewhere between the two.
Yeah, you see, you can get the benefits of being fat adapted while still fueling yourself correctly with carbohydrate. And that's because, just like other types of training, you can do specific sessions to work on improving your body's ability to burn fat while still maintaining all the other benefits of the other types of training that you've done.
yeah, phasing carbohydrate is definitely the way to go. So low carbohydrate fueling on a shorter ride of low intensity, but good fueling on a long ride with high intensity efforts.
Yeah, so those low carb days, or more commonly known as fasted training, have long thought to have been a way of improving your body's ability to burn fat. And recently, in fact, low intensity exercise before breakfast has been proven to increase the number of energy producing mitochondria in your body's cells, meaning ultimately that you become more efficient both at lower intensities burning fat and higher intensities burning carbs. Win-win.
I'll tell you what, Si,
What's that?
should have had my spectacles with me, shouldn't I? Because that was just sheer science. But to a certain extent, the fail-safe method is to simply exercise. Now, rates of fat oxidation increase when you exercise, particularly during prolonged exercise, otherwise known as endurance training, although that does remain the preserve of those with time to train.
There is one final point to mention here as well, and that is one that you have no control over, your genetics. See, even among Tour de France riders, there's a huge variation in how much they need to eat, and also the heart rate zones in which they can work while still burning fat. In fact, one team physiologist I spoke to put it very plainly. He said that two of his best riders couldn't have been further apart from a nutrition perspective. One needed an energy gel every 10 minutes in order not to blow, while another one could ride stage after stage and drink only water, literally.
The message here then is to look at fasted training occasionally, particularly if you're stretched for time, but also to maintain your well-fueled training to get the best out of your body.
Yeah, and you may always be limited on how efficient you become, but don't think of that as a problem. If you need to eat more food to perform, then eat it. Or if you're putting on weight, then just unfortunately, you're just gonna have to eat less.
For most riders, it's important that you fuel for performance and eat appropriately for recovery.
Yeah. Now, if you want to see a video about what Tour de France riders eat, then we've got one just up there. Or for more GCN Does Science videos, where Matt and I often have to wear glasses, the science is so complex, we've got a whole playlist of them. You can get to that just down there.
Yeah, and to subscribe to GCN, how about clicking on some carbs?